5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time to count down reality TV's most talked about moments with Amanda Bella. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Bella Talks TV. This is Amanda Bella, and I'm so excited to be back for another week to just basically talk shit with you. As you guys can see, I take this podcast very casually. I'm just here on my couch, chilling in my PJs, and just ready to sit. And basically, I try to treat this kind of like I'm just calling a friend, talking about my favorite shows. So thank you again for being here to go on another wild ride of what's been going on in Bravo and beyond with me. And we have a lot to talk about this week. So I want to get right into a top 5 countdown this week because I'm going to be honest. So we're kind of in this weird week of TV this week where past some of the finales and we're getting into some reunions, and those can always be a really interesting time on Bravo. But we also have some other things, I try to do Bravo and beyond here. So I don't want to just be talking Bravo. I want to get into a little bit about some Love is Blind, and just some other TV that I've been watching and other things that we haven't been talking about as much. So let's get right into it today. So I want to start with my favorite segment, which is the segment of the stuff that no one is talking about. So a couple of shows that I feel like nobody is talking about right now is, and when I say reality TV too, I just feel like that is such a spectrum. There are so many different types of reality TV out there. And I think as Bravo fans, as I'm assuming most of the people that are here listening are here for Bravo content, Bravo just knows how to do reality TV differently. And when you watch other reality shows on other networks, it's almost like it doesn't really even add up or live up to the editing and the producing and even just the visuals of the way that the shows look. It's just a different thing. So when I'm watching The Bachelor or I'm watching stuff on Lifetime, Married at First Sight, like those are just 2 examples of 2 different networks where it's to me, I feel like it is a little bit more reality. It's not quite with all of the bells and the whistles and the smoke and the mirrors. So you're kind of getting more of like raw, just people's reactions to things that are going on in the show. So it's just a really interesting thing, the way that reality TV has this huge spectrum of basically put it from like the people that are on Lifetime doing the shows like 90 Day Fiancé and even Love After Lockup. That looks so different than like the Real Houses of Miami. They're just like not on the same spectrum. So, or they're not on the same level, but they're on the same spectrum. So I like to go all the way from like the dirty, low down reality TV all the way to the super pretty, overproduced reality TV. So I love it all. But I really want to start talking about a couple different shows. So if you guys are not watching one, Married at First Sight, I will never stop talking about this. The show just does not get, I don't know what it is, if it's advertising, if it's the network it's on, if it just doesn't have like that buzz about it that Love is Blind and all of our other, Bachelor dating shows, Love Island, like these shows just get so much of a buzz and have such a cult following. I think the people that are really into Married at First Sight are really into it and have been watching for the last 17 seasons. But it's just weird that this season just didn't hit and take off for people. But I feel like there's just so much good stuff going on. I really just always want to say, like, please go watch the show. We're getting close to D-Day, which is Decision Day on Married at First Sight, which if you're not familiar, again, these couples do get legally married at the altar the second they meet each other. And they go on their honeymoon. They're married for 8 weeks, and then they get to decide if they want to stay married or get a divorce. So they are already married, and then they're deciding if they want to stay together or not. And it's just such a different format, and it's so juicy. Like the stuff that goes on in these shows, you really can't make it up. It is a true social experiment. I think it's actually more Love is Blind than even Love is Blind. They actually get to like decide if they're going to marry the person that when they get to see them, where with Married at First Sight, like you just get married, even though, yeah, you're technically seeing them, but you're usually not going to pull out. So It's just a really interesting show. I want everyone to please go be watching it because I want next season to really take off, and I want everybody to be hyping it up and chatting online about it like they do with all these other shows. So speaking of Lifetime, I've been getting into more, Lifetime shows, getting back on my end. There's a lot of good content on there. Like I already mentioned the Gypsy Rose documentary. It's got 6 parts. Please go watch. And then we also have, of course, there's 90 Day Fiancé and all of these like heavy hitters, but there's also a new show, or I should say more like a new season of an old show, but Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, now has her show on TLC originally. I guess it must have got canceled, which I can't believe because she is so phenomenal. And again, a natural for reality TV. I mean, you can tell just by looking at this woman, she was made to be on TV. So adding in her personality, and then again, like this gift. I'm not sure who my audience is out there as far as spirituality and mediums and things like that, but I'm a believer, and I'm a big believer because of Teresa. And I was so sad when her show got canceled. I think during the pandemic, but she does so good, and she's been able to stay so popular that Lifetime came around, picked her up, and gave her a new series called Raising Spirits with Teresa Caputo. And I caught up the other day. I did a good binge of about the first 6 episodes. I think she just released the 7th episode of this season. And it's so good. She just really has a way of delivering these messages to people that are from dead people and giving them to their loved ones, and just having that way of like validating them, making them not feel crazy, making them feel like they're healed. And it's a beautiful show. I cry the whole time I'm watching, and no one really talks about it or watches it. And again, I feel so bad. Like I wish I was an advertiser for some of these, and maybe one day I'll manifest that this podcast gets so big that maybe I'll be able to help draw eyes to some of these shows, because there's such good other reality TV out there besides what's going on Bravo, and besides The Bachelor, and besides the Kardashians. Like there's so much more out there. So I feel like all of us podcasters and even the media in general, we just kind of talk about like 10% of what's out there. There's so much good entertainment, so many people out in the world on these shows that have amazing stories to tell. And I just wanted to say, take a moment to go over to Lifetime and watch some of the shows that they have on there, and just kind of get into something a little bit different, maybe if you're feeling a little bit of that Bravo burnout, because I know that we can all feel it, especially when we're in this transition right now of, we got Real Housewives of Miami ending. We just had their finale. We had Real Housewives of Beverly Hills ending. Married at First Sight is ending. We're almost to the end of the Real Housewives of Potomac. Of course, then out with the old, in with the new. Then we're ushering in a new season of Below Deck. We're ushering in a new season of Summer House, which I can't wait to talk about a little bit later in the episode. And there's just so much going on. So how do we talk about it all? How do we cover it all? We can't. But I'm going to try to give you a little rundown of everything that's been going on in the past week. So let's just get right into my number 5 of the week. I don't know if I'm going to do an OMG or LOL. If I do, maybe I'll add them on towards the end of this episode. But again, like I said, it's just a little bit of that like burnout this week where I wasn't feeling like as inspired. Like I tried to remember a moment where I LOL'd till I cried. I couldn't really come up with something. Like there were funny moments and things that were going on in the shows, but it's kind of sad when you can't remember feeling like elicited a really strong emotion about anything. I don't remember seeing anything like OMG so shocking, and I don't remember really witnessing anything that made me laugh till I was like guttural. So we're just going to skip that part this week and get right into my top 5, because I'm dying to talk to you guys about the Love is Blind boys. So that's my number 5 most talked about moment of the week. It's still being talked about so much, which is great. This season is getting so much buzz. They just dropped 3 more episodes last week. We've got 3 more coming out on Thursday, and we're really making our way through this season already. I'm so glad Netflix didn't just drop this all at the same time. It's good to space it out a little bit. And of course, I'm already dying to know what's going to happen on the reunion, because they just filmed it. They're not doing a live one again. I think you guys heard me laughing about how Vanessa and Nick really fudged up I wouldn't say it wasn't really even their fault either, but I say it's 50% their fault that the last reunion wasn't great. and then 50 Netflix's fault. The live streaming didn't go well, and like, the site crashed and everything. So they pre-recorded the Love is Blind reunion over the weekend in LA. A lot of the cast members, current and past, were out in LA and being spotted on social media. And we'll have to just see what happens. But all of these men are really coming in, giving us a lot to talk about this season. So let's start with Jeremy. So Jeremy is with Laura. And again, this is going to have spoilers. So if you have not seen the latest episodes, go watch before you listen. But we got into a couple of the couples already breaking up. So we had Laura and Jeremy getting engaged, going towards the altar. I mean, Jeremy was saying, I'm in love with this girl. Like, he's like, I don't know if I've really ever been in love, but I'm in love with this girl. Now, we're all calling bullshit on this. It's been confirmed that Jeremy was indeed engaged, and the engagement did end. But you see me on camera doing the air quotes. I mean, we don't really know when it ended, how much time there was in between his previous engagement, when he was applying to be on the show, when he was getting accepted to be on the show, when he went for filming. Like, it's all a little bit of sketch. So we know, though, that it has been confirmed. He has been engaged. And now he says that he actually did discuss this with the girls in the pods, and that the Netflix editors just chose to leave that out. So that is kind of shady. I mean, it's not really relevant. And I do, of course, believe that Netflix wants us to like these people and get invested in them and get really into these stories. So if we're already hearing, I mean, I don't know, it's weird because Chelsea, she was married before, but no, she was really open about her divorce and stuff. I don't know, something about the way that they edited this is really strange, that they're trying to give Jeremy a good edit, or they obviously wanted us to not feel sus about him, but everything is sus about this guy. So he gets engaged to Laura. They move in. He says they're in love. He meets the parents. And then while he's meeting Laura's parents, she brings up the fact that Sarah Ann, who he had also had a connection with in the pods, has DM'd him and basically said, if you and Laura don't work out, like, hit a sister up. So what does he do? He prematurely hits her up. Now, he says that other Love is Blind cast members told him that they were out on the town in Charlotte where the season is being filmed, and specifically at a place called Lost and Found. And he's like, apparently he was supposed to go, he got invited out to come to, so they're at Lost and Found, and there's other cast members from Love is Blind going out in Charlotte to a place called Lost and Found, and they message Jeremy and they tell him that Sarah Ann is there. Now, again, this is all sounding a little shady. Like, who are these cast members that like are provoking Jeremy to come and meet up with her? I don't know. This is all going on off camera, as we know. None of this is filmed. So he goes out to meet friends at Lost and Found. Really, we know that now that it's been exposed that he's going to meet up with Sarah Ann. And at first I was kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt because clearly I am just a trustworthy person. But he says that he went there just to have a conversation with her, and maybe he did need to just kind of like see her and get some closure. But no, that's not what happened. He gave Laura his location, which is so scary. Like, it gives me flashbacks. As a female, I've been cheated on. I would like to say that I'm part of a majority of women, but I hope that not all women have been cheated on. I hope that there's some women out there that still know what it feels like to not be cheated on. But as a person that's been cheated on, I know what this feels like. I know what this feels like when somebody goes out of their way to make you feel secure and like you have nothing to worry about, and like, oh, people, you can give me my location, and then they find another way to deceive you. Like, he left his phone in his car at the bar so that he could say that he was there all night in the parking lot, which again was later exposed that this bar doesn't even have a parking lot. So he was already lying, like so many lies on lies, the lies, like candy, the lies. So it's already been exposed. Okay, you weren't in the parking lot. You were with Sarah Ann. And then he comes home, cameras are up. The producers are waiting to get this reaction of, okay, he didn't come home till 5 a.m. Laura's pissed. What the hell happened last night? And he's sitting there with his sunglasses on. And she's like, are you going to take your sunglasses off? Like, clearly this man is hungover because she's telling he didn't get home till 6 in the morning, 5, 6, something like that. Well, it turns out that she basically caught him in a big fat lie because he's telling her he left his, he's telling her he was just there till 5 in the morning at the bar, just talking. But really, his Apple Watch. Boys, you have to always, I don't even want to tell them to be smarter, but it's like, I just feel like a woman wouldn't be dumb enough to forget this small detail that your Apple Watch is going to show your true location. So even though he tried to hide it from Laura and say that he was just in the alley, he was lying. He was at Sarah Ann's house and she got him red-handed. So he comes home, she exposes him, they break up. She moves out. She's like, I want out. Which was so funny. She like leaves the room. She basically dumps his ass, leaves the room. And then as she's walking down the stairs, she just screams to the producers, almost like chucking up like a deuce, like, I want out, and leaves. So, okay, one couple bites the dust, goes down in flames. That was a sinking ship. Let's take it over to Brittany and Kenny because, that's also a bad one. So Brittany and Ken in the pod were our Christian relationship of the season. They were talking about saving it for marriage. They're talking about, through God, all things are possible. They're on their spiritual journey together. They believe that God has put them in each other's lives and that, this is a real match. They get engaged. They go on the honeymoon. And even on the honeymoon, things seem to be okay. Like, they seem to have a good, rapport. It's not electricity coming off of my screen, but I didn't expect what happened to happen between them especially because they were so vocal about wanting to save things for marriage. Brittany essentially comes to Ken and is like, hey, we've been now engaged for about a week. We went on this, not honeymoon, but they take them on this trip when they get engaged to get, acquainted and with the other couples and everything, which I also think is also kind of weird, but I guess it's good for obviously TV and for moral support for them all to be there together. But I think I would want to just like be alone with my man if this was really somebody I was going to marry. That's just me. And another reason why I would never do one of these shows. But they decide, okay, basically Brittany comes to Ken and she's like, okay, like, I understand that we're saving it for marriage and stuff, but like, I need a little more from you. I need a little more physical touch. I need a little more attention from you. Not to mention, this man is addicted to his phone. And there's not, like, to me, that's the worst turnoff. Like, I hate people that just sit there. And I understand if it's for work. Like, that's another thing. I'm noticing this trend too that I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the pandemic or I'm not sure what it was that it's like women want their men not to work and just to like hang out with them all day. I do not relate with this. I actually like want my man to be busy working, doing things, providing for us, building our future, like doing as much as possible. This is like something going on. I saw AD was complaining that Clay was working too much. I see, it's like Amanda and Kyle on Summer House. She's complaining he's working too much. It's like, let the man work. Like, I don't understand a problem with a man who likes to work. I could see if he's never there for you. He never does things with you. And he just completely, blows off anything that's important to you for work. But that's not the case. These people have to work and do things. So I don't like this whole narrative that, I don't know, the women on these shows lately are trying to portray that like these men don't care about them because they work. That's just ridiculous. So I don't like that. But so anyways, this guy is connected to his phone and you can tell he's on it a lot. And it's really weird because it doesn't seem to be always work. Like you can answer a few emails, you can do a few things, but eventually like you're going to be caught up. So to me, it seems like social media. It seems like he's like texting friends. He's kind of just on their way too much, ignoring his wife. So I'm not sure. I feel like a lot got missed here, or maybe they just had nothing to film, but it was like one day they were home and literally the next day they were breaking up. Like something more must have happened in between. But it sounds like basically Ken had like one long day out too, kind of like Jeremy, where he didn't get home till like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And Brittany was like, this is sus. I'm not feeling why you were out and why you didn't communicate with me. And in my head, I'm thinking like, God, leave the man alone. Like he works, he's a principal, he, needed to go get his hair done, which we know like hair and keeping up with yourself and everything is very important. Like I don't like either if I need to go get my nails done or I need to go do something. I don't want anybody complaining like that I need to go take care of myself. Like self-care is so important. So I didn't really like how the conversation was going when she first approached it. But then all of the light bulbs started to go off. And the more that she pushed to get him to kind of like, I basically agree, I think, to at least try to be more physical with her and be more affectionate, he just was like getting broken down in the moment. And finally, he just was like, I can't do this anymore. You want something from me that I can't give you. Now, if your husband is telling you, like, I can't give you any physical attention, that is such a red flag. Like, I understand being like, hey, like, I'm so attracted to you. Like, I need a little more time. Like, I love kissing you, holding your hand, whatever, cuddling. But like, if you're not doing any of that, that is a huge red flag. Now, getting to the juicy part, and this is all alleged and unconfirmed, but like semi-confirmed. But at the end of that scene, when they break up, he immediately calls a male friend, and says like, hey, I'm coming over, or whatever. Like, hey, it's done, or something like, I'm coming over, along the lines. Now, this raised a lot of red flags because it seemed like this other person maybe was aware of the situation, kind of knew that he was going to go into this day like breaking up and ending things with her, and that he was kind of like on standby for when it happened because they're living together. So he needed somewhere to go when they broke up. It's unlike Ariana and Tom. Like usually when people break up, somebody leaves. They weren't going to just stay cohabitating, and he needed somewhere to go. So he calls this person and he says he's going to leave. Now, since this has happened, one of Ken's cousins, now I say that again with air quotes, has gone online and confirmed, again, allegedly, that Ken is actually gay. Now, since this episode has dropped, one of Ken's cousins has actually been seen on Facebook commenting on people's pictures, posts, whatever, basically being like, this is my cousin and he does not like women. So whether or not Ken is actually closeted, not closeted, on LGBTQ, not LGBTQ, if he's on the spectrum or not of sexual fluidity. I don't even know really how to say this in like political correctness. If he's gay or not, it's really none of our business, but it is Brittany's business. This woman's life is being, essentially being put on hold for this man. Now, whether or not Ken is actually LGBTQ or not, it's none of our business really, but it is Brittany's business. And he kind of made it our business by going on national TV and like lying to all of us. I'm just so sick of people going on these shows for clout, for fame, for bullshit. I feel really bad for the people that go in with the right intentions, but I also feel like this has been going on kind of since the beginning of time. I mean, ever since season 2, I would say, of The Bachelor, women have been going on that show for the wrong reasons, right? Like being there for the right reasons is actually more rare now. So should I be surprised that we're on season 6 of the show and people have figured out like basically the formula and figured out how to manipulate it? I guess not, but it's like, where do we go from here? Like, and where are the producers doing any background checks or doing their due diligence to make sure these people aren't freaking losers? It's just really annoying, and it makes you feel like you can do their job better than them. And that's not what you want from a show like this. Like, you want to feel like you can relate to people. You want to feel invested in their stories. You want to feel like, they're in your real circle. Part of reality TV is the fact that it's supposed to be real. It's supposed to be real life, not manipulated storylines and fakeness. So just really disappointed in Jeremy. I'm really disappointed in Ken. And I'm really disappointed in Clay too. Now, Clay is pushing this narrative that he doesn't know if he can get married because he believes that cheating is in his DNA. His words. His father was a big cheater. He witnessed a lot of cheating going on in his family, even though his parents were married for, I think, almost 30 years. Apparently, his father basically cheated on his mom the entire time that they were together. And it's just such a bummer because I'm so sick of like this idea that people don't have their own autonomy or something. Like, cheating is not a genetic thing. Like, you're not born with a cheater gene. So cheating is a choice that you make, and there's nobody forcing you, especially not your chromosomes in your body telling you to cheat. So I just feel like this is a cop-out. Again, another excuse that this man is coming up with to where maybe he doesn't like who he chose. Maybe he doesn't like see a future. Like, I don't know. 80 seems awesome. She seems, I don't have to date her, so it's really hard for me to say. But to me, it seems like she's great. Like, she seems like she has her own thing going on. She's beautiful. She's healthy. She's funny. She's vulnerable and open to this process. Like, I'm really unclear what Clay maybe isn't seeing in her as like a potential wife. But again, maybe the chemistry is not there. Maybe something's just not hitting, or maybe it could be, maybe the attitude that she's giving him about being a little bit needy and clingy. Now, that was a big deal when Jimmy said that Chelsea was clingy last week, but like, it's like final. Like, Jimmy looks better every week, doesn't he, you guys? Like, when you put Jimmy up next to Ken, Jeremy, Johnny, which God bless, but the man doesn't, I don't know if he doesn't know how to birth control works. I mean, he is 27 years old. To me, that is like a little young. I'm 37. But you should still know how birth control works. Oh my gosh. Or condoms. Like, has nobody ever heard of a condom in this nation? He said, well, we can't have sex. I'm afraid you're going to get pregnant. It's like, use a condom. Didn't you go to high school? Even junior high, they know that. So very confusing. Like, all of these men seem like it was like the first day that they've been born. They all just seem like babies, and they don't know how to speak for themselves, act for themselves, and just be authentic. So the men of this season have been very disappointing. I didn't expect to rant about that for that long, but that was my number 5 most talked about moment, are just the men of Love is Blind driving me crazy. Unclear what's going on and what's going to happen, but I'm dying to see the new episodes. Moving on to my number 4 most talked about moment of the week, got to talk about Tom Sandoval. It's about Tom. My fiance has never watched Housewives, but I showed him some different reels of some of the women so he could kind of at least know who some of these people are when I talk to him. And now I've got him really obsessed with Luann, which, if you guys follow me on my social media, Bella Talks TV, please go follow me now if you're listening. It's really funny, but he always will do that. When I showed him the scene between Bethany and Luann in Miami when she's like, it's about Tom. And then Luann goes and texts Tom and is like, how could you do this to me? ? Like, he does. Now my fiance will say that to me all the time. He's like, how could you do that to me ? So funny. But anyways, it's about Tom. It's about Tom Sandoval again. Here we go. And so there's a lot of this narcissist talk about Tom this week. So we had Tom getting quite a few shout outs in the media this week. Let's start with the easy ones, like John Oliver. So John Oliver gave a little nod to Tom last night, talking about how he's a narcissist on his show. And then we had the Saturday Night Live where we had Marcelo, who is one of my favorite additions. And if you guys don't know, he's like kind of low-key friends with Hannah Berner. He actually was like not in her wedding, but it's funny. There's pictures of her with like all of her girlfriends and then just like Marcelo hanging. I think he might have also been like included in her bachelorette party somehow too, like in Miami. So good. I love their friendship. But he gave a little nod to Tom Sandoval also in the Weekend Update this week when he said that Tom Sandoval is a narcissist because he went on there saying that he was playing a frozen embryo. I love Saturday Night Live, but he was playing a frozen embryo, and he said basically like, I don't have a heart and I don't have a brain, because he's an embryo, and he's trying to say like, he's trying to make the point that it's not the same as a baby. Like, trigger warning, I guess I should give everybody, that if you're pro-life, probably not the girl for you here, but he's trying to make the point that an embryo is not the same as a baby. And so he's saying, I don't have a brain and I don't have a heart, kind of like Tom Sandoval. And it was a good zinger. It was really funny, Saturday Night Live. Even Colin was like, what the fuck are you saying? He was like, you watch Vanderpump Rules? Of course he does. We know that Marcelo's a Bravo fan because he's friends with Hannah, but it was just a really funny moment. And obviously, like, Tom is just really in the zeitgeist right now, and everybody's talking about him on all these different shows. But what we're not collectively understanding as a society is that the only way that you can disarm a narcissist is by not giving them any attention. So I have some personal experience. I was in a relationship with a narcissist for 5 years that I lived with. And unfortunately, no matter what I did, no matter what anybody said to him, and I'm talking like including professionals, nobody could get through to him, and everything was everybody else's fault. And he was just truly incapable of being introspective enough and seeing himself in a way where he's able to identify like the problems in his life and realizing what he's done to cause them rather than blaming it on everyone else and just not taking accountability. So because I've been with somebody for that long, and I knew that the only way that my relationship would end was by going cold turkey, cut off, like blocked on social media, changed phone numbers, never responded. Like that's the only way that I was able to get this basically bloodsucker like out of my life. You have to cut them off altogether, never speak to them, never talk about them, and pretend that they don't exist. That is the only way that they will eventually shrink and hopefully just so. Unfortunately, we're only making things worse by giving Tom the New York Times article and giving him the rope to hang himself. It's just feeding this prophecy, the self-fulfilling prophecy of him. So I just feel like we all have to stop talking about him, but I know it's not going to happen because we're in the thick of this new season. We're on episode 4 of this new Vanderpump Rules season, and they're giving Tom the good edit, and everybody is, it seems like, trying to move forward. It feels like they feel like there's not going to be a show without him. And because of that, he still has the power. If Lala, Sheena, Katie, everybody thinks like, well, without Tom and Ariana, we don't have a show, then it's like, why are we here then? It wasn't called Tom Sandoval. The show wasn't called Tom and the Most Extras. The show's called Vanderpump Rules, and it's about an ensemble group of friends. So the fact that nobody else has their own storylines or things going on to talk about, or that they're just not interesting enough, I'm at a loss for words. Like, why is it all about Tom? Like, why is Tom the end all be all? Why do we need him? It's exhausting, and I'm sick of talking about him, and I'm sick of giving him attention, and I'm just feeling like, where do we go from here? I'm okay almost with the end of Vanderpump Rules. Like, I would rather see the end of it than continue to make it the Tom show. Put it that way. So even though this is Bella Talks TV and that's my number 4 most talked about moment of the week, I still think we should stop talking about Tom. Like, I'm here talking about it. I'm part of the problem. Hi, it's me. But we have to stop. So maybe we can all make a pact, if you're here and you're listening, to not post about him, talk about him, or give him any more attention. And I'm curious to see if, like, in 1 year from now, if this ever dies away, or we're still just going on about Tom. So that was my number 4 most talked about moment of the week. Let's move on over into my number 3. So this one's a little bit hard of another one to talk about because I'm not really sure the political way to talk about this, the politically correct way to talk about these things. And, I'm not professionally trained in this. I'm just, again, here on my couch, like, talking shit into a screen, and hopefully somebody out there is listening, and hopefully they won't take offense to anything that I'm saying because I'm just riffing over here. But we got to talk about Andy and Brandy. So I want to just go on record in saying that I believe everybody. I believe 2 things can be true at the same time. I believe women and their stories. I believe that people can have their own bias going into certain things, and so that can skew their perspective of the events of maybe how things happened based on their own personal experiences, and that you can never really truly know how somebody feels in a moment unless you're the person that's feeling it. So I just want to preface with saying that I do believe Brandy, amongst other people on Bravo, have probably felt uncomfortable at a time or two, within the time that they were on Bravo. So I know Andy makes these comments sometimes. Sometimes I see myself too, like, oh, watch What Happens Live. Like, oh my God, Andy, like, can you please just hold it back a little bit? Like, I think that he is starting to get better about not talking about women's bodies as much, and not having to be like, oh, talk about your boobs, and oh, what work have you had done, and like, ooh, who you sleeping with? Like, of course, like, now we're living in a different age. Like, when Andy started Watch What Happens Live, those were different times, and it takes a lot, I'm sure, for somebody like that. If that's his natural self and that's just him being genuine and like, that's just how he is, having to really make all those changes to like not just feel that comfortable. Like these are women are like his friends. I'm sure some of them are like family to him. So it's just really hard for him, I'm sure, to think about every single word that comes out of his mouth and like how the person's going to take it, because he's so comfortable. He knows these women are on a different level, and it's not a typical boss employee relationship. So do I think Andy said these things? Yes. Do I think Brandy is really reaching here, because I think that she feels like Bravo has turned its back on her, and because they're refusing to release the footage from Morocco, things are just getting really bad over there. It's really he said, she said, them versus that us. Like it's like the line in the sand has been drawn, and a lot of these people that are going against Andy are not coming out successful. So I think Nene tried to sue. That failed. Bethany tried the reality reckoning. That was literally a joke. Like now Brandy's going for it. Like Leah has also got this impending lawsuit out there about her, it's actually using the Disabilities Act, which is insane. But saying that, her mental health is a disability and that they took advantage of that. And, that's an impending lawsuit that's still going on. So it's like all of these things are going on, but nothing has successfully ever been able to be proven, at least in the court of law, that Andy has technically done anything wrong. So I'm very, very reluctant to not back up my man Andy here. Like Daddy Andy has given us all this entire thing. Like, if he gets to a point where it's like the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away, like, I don't know. I'm scared that if we push Andy too much to a point, like this is all going to be over, you guys. Like we have to really be careful about these things that we're trying to get canceled. And there's so like this, it is beyond Andy. Like think about all of the producers, all of the people on the shows, all of the cast members, all of their families. Like these are a lot of jobs and real people that are involved in this. And I just think it's a little bit bigger than Andy. Like we can't just take the whole ship can't go down with the captain here. Like we need to keep this Bravo boat afloat. So I think everyone needs to just calm down and really think about the things that they're accusing, they're saying, what they're doing. Now, Brandy is not the most like credible source, but also, like I said, I do believe her. I just do think she's really reaching here because she's retaliating. Bravo won't release the footage. She's getting her name dragged. Like she's saying she'll never be able to work again. Which I actually don't believe. I still feel like Brandy will still be able to get work. She's the one that's actually like perpetuating this and keeping herself in the press more and people talking about it, where I think if she just, again, like Tom, if we just stop talking about it, it will almost like blow over, which I know that's not what she wants, but I don't know. I don't have a solution. I just wish everybody would like really take a look at themselves and really think about what they're doing and think about how many people it affects when they make these accusations. So that's really going on a lot. People have a lot to say about this, and I'm interested to see like what happens. Now, Brandy's saying, oh, Andy hasn't publicly, or Andy has publicly apologized, but he hasn't personally apologized to her. But I'm also like, you expect him to apologize to you now? Like, if you would have went to him off camera, if you would have went to him personally and been like, Andy, I had this experience with you and it really rubbed me the wrong way, and I want to clear the air because I care about you and I want to still work with you. Versus the route she's taking, it's like people have to really think about what they're doing before they just act. So that's my advice for the week. Let's get into my number 2. We got to talk about something fun, and that's because summer should be fun. And well, I have to say, Amanda, you're not fun right now. And that's my number 2 most talked about moment of the week. We've got a Summer House premiere on our hands. I've been dying to get Summer House back on my screen. I was personally really affected by the fact that Winter House has decided to be canceled. I'm really sad about that. And I really hope that they find a way to come up with some other like collaboration show, because there's just way too many good people on these shows right now to let them be going to waste. So I hope that they can come up with some kind of new thing. But let's talk about the whole premiere. I have a lot to say about everybody in the house. So Summer House premiered. We have 2 new people coming into the house this year. We have 2 new men, which, as you guys know, the men have not worked out great on past seasons. The only 2 men that have been able to stand the test of time have been Carl and Kyle. They're kind of the staples of the show, and really what going out to the Hamptons, like they live it. They live it, they breathe it. They're perfect for the show, and that's why I think that they've so authentically been able to have it be on for this long now. I believe this is season 8 that we're on now that just premiered. So 8 seasons of the show have been filmed, and praying that we're going to get 9, 10, 11, and it continues. But Kyle is an executive producer on this show. So basically, I feel like he must have came up with the idea when they pitched the idea. I don't know if he was cast or if he was involved in the original forming of the show. I don't know if the show was being scouted out in the Hamptons and then they found him out there. I really would like to hear about how Kyle really got involved with the show. But Kyle, there is no Summer House without Kyle. So I feel like he feels very pressured to stay in this role that he's been in the last 8 seasons, which is the head honcho, the party man, the man that never sleeps, the loudest one in the room, the party animal. That's who he is. So I think that he's really wrapped up in his own pressure to stay this person and not really evolve the way that I think Amanda wants him to. Maybe even us as an audience would really like to see him kind of not grow up, but party in a good way. Like, I would love to see Kyle just getting drunk and like being messy. Like, why don't we get to see Kyle, like, okay, instead of getting drunk and like partying with a banana and like riding carnival rides with a banana all night, with a stuffed banana, or the little hat on the, that he did last season, or like all of these kind of like, what are they called? Like gags that he kind of comes up with. Like, I would rather see him using his energy that he has for good. So he could be being a little bit more messy, especially if he's a producer. He should be pulling these girls off to the side a little bit more. He should be, I understand he probably doesn't want to like overproduce, but we got to keep a lot of the stuff moving. But anyways, I love Kyle. I really do. I've never met him, but I was in the same room with him once. I got to go to Jordan from Winter House's birthday party this year. That wasn't even that long ago. That was like about 2 months ago. And I got to be in the same room with a bunch of these people in NYC, and it was so fun. That was a really good night. So fun. But so I just think, like, I've seen Kyle out in real life, and he wasn't like that. He's not some like crazy animalistic like savage. So I think he turns it up a little bit for TV, and I think he would be capable of drinking and still being messy and still being fun. So I'd like to see him find a little bit more of a balance. Now, this dynamic with Amanda and Kyle this season. So Amanda has been on there since season 1. And there's just something about like Amanda's to another Amanda's. Like, I just always liked her. I think we're very similar personalities, which is kind of scary. But I just like her. I see her as a very creative, fashionable, funny, girl's girl, like more redeeming qualities than not. However, with that being said, coming to her relationship with Kyle, like, it is like nails on a chalkboard to watch. It's unbearable. It's uncomfortable. It makes me like, I don't like it. I don't like watching their relationship. I think it's because there is a clear lack of respect in between them. And there was one moment on this episode where Kyle comes out of the shower naked. I mean, if that bothers you as your husband, like, I don't know. Maybe it's because the cameras are there and stuff and she doesn't want people to like see him naked. I don't know. But she's like, put some clothes on, you idiot. And that just really triggered me. As I said before, I've spent time in a relationship with somebody who was kind of like spoke to me like that. And there's just like a zero tolerance for that for me. Like, I don't like name calling. I don't like putting people down. I don't like making people feel stupid. And I don't really like the way that she's like speaking to him this season. Now, this could be editing. This could be a buildup of a lot of frustration, but there's just something in the water there. Like, something don't smell right. Like, I'm not sure what happened that's so bad that's really made Amanda kind of like, seems like she's kind of like turning on Kyle and almost contemplating like whether or not she should be with him. And I'm not sure if it's like fair. I know that I'm not in their relationship, but hey, that's what this podcast is for. And that's why I get to come here and sit behind this mic and like have my opinions, because I'm just looking as an outsider and gathering information. But it just feels like the punishment's like not fitting the crime. And like, okay, Kyle's busy and working, but he's not cheating on you. He's not being disrespectful towards you. He's not doing things to you to put you down. I don't think that we're seeing. So why so much vitriol? Why so much negativity towards your mans? Like, is this for a storyline? Is everybody kind of saying like, okay, we don't need Amanda and Kyle anymore? So they're kind of creating like their own drama. Like, I'm just unclear of what's going on here. And I really am interested to see how this is going to play out this season. Now, I hope, my wish for them is that it will help them maybe get to a rock bottom where they realize they do want to be together and they are able to change these things about themselves. But I also know that it's not necessarily fair to expect somebody to change when you marry them and you know who they are. So Kyle, being the workaholic that he is, a serial entrepreneur, he's obsessed with making business, making a name for himself. And that's how my partner is. And he's gone most of the time and has to travel and do a lot of things. And I don't complain. I find things to fill my time with. I do this podcast because I have the time to do these things. Like, there's things for yourself. Like, you should be doing things for yourself to keep yourself fulfilled and not always need your man around to entertain you, do things with you. I don't know. It's like, it's just feeling imbalanced, and I really want to see them stay together, but I'm just feeling like maybe some of this should have been worked out before. And I also think some of it comes with wisdom. As you get a little bit older in life, I think you start to think like, okay, I'm just not going to tolerate this. I'm too far along in life. Like, look at Katie Maloney and Tom Schwartz. Like, she still married him, married for 5 years. Like, and then they got divorced. Like, I'm not saying, I don't think divorce is like off the table for them. They're saying that having kids and stuff sounds terrifying. Like, that doesn't really sound like they're in a great place to at least build their family and do things. So I see where Amanda's coming from, where she's like, okay, you're never around. And then when you are around, you want to hang out, but I'm busy now. Like, I don't know. Something's just not adding up there. I don't like it. I don't really want to watch it either. It just, it kind of gives me like that feeling of just like tightness in my chest. Like, it's not fun to watch. So I'm kind of sad. It doesn't seem like summer's going to be that fun this year. We have all this stuff with Carl and Lindsay, which we haven't even gotten into yet. Really funny how so Gabby is back. I'm not sure we needed her, but I'm hoping that she, again, can find a way to either get into the mix, get messy, cause some drama. We need her for something. If you're going to be there, you got to like earn your check, girl. So I hope that she's starting to get involved. I see a little bit of it already in this premiere episode when she calls Carl and Lindsay, and she low-key is like, hey, we're not missing anybody this weekend. We're all having a lot of fun. And even Lindsay's kind of like, wait, what? Like, well, we're not there. Like, it can't be that much fun. So I would be interested to see like even a fight between Lindsay and Gabby. That would be compelling if Lindsay turns on her and then Gabby kind of like goes for blood because she had her back so much. Like, I need to see some of these dynamics. I gotta see some more. I have a lot of thoughts on Carl and Lindsay. I tend to really post about it a lot on my Instagram page, and I have so many friends that are Lindsay fans, and they just can't believe that I don't like her, but I just don't. Like, I can't explain the feeling. I'll put it into 3 different ways. Lindsay to me comes off of like the type of girl who, again, almost Tom Sandoval, like it's always somebody else's fault. So I don't like people like that. I don't like people that can't take accountability and can't self-reflect and evolve. I just feel like she's the exact same person we saw in season 1. So I don't really like that. Some people would say that makes a great reality TV character, but I don't know. It's different. Housewives is different. Like, I want my housewives to be authentically themselves. If that means that they're not going to change and they're just going to be awful, then just be awful. But I don't really want that from my Summer House people. I don't want that from my Vanderpump Rules people. Like, I want these younger people who are in my age group who still have basically like a lot of life in front of them to kind of like figure these things out. figure out these like secrets to life where it's more of a karmic thing. Putting good out will bring good back. And the more that you complain, almost the more things will go wrong. So it seems like they're just like not getting that. And it's just negativity. And I don't like necessarily everything to be so negative all the time. Everybody says like, oh, that would be so boring if everybody was just getting along all the time. But I don't think so. I think there's just different dynamics than fighting. So it's not always about there being drama. So yeah, Carl and Lindsay, I'm happy they're not together, and I'm excited to see this play out. And then we have Craig and Paige. So they seem they're kind of coming into this season in a comfortable space. I really like how Paige has been very vocal lately about how like, I'm not going to let you guys pressure me. I'm not going to let everybody tell me that I need to get engaged, move, whatever. I'm doing my own thing. I'm living my life, and I don't care what you guys say. Respect. I wish everybody thought that way. I wish everybody could just say that. But unfortunately, I think a lot of these people on these shows play into what the fans want to see, play into what the producers want them to do. Like they're not really doing what they would normally do in a situation. And that's just coming off fake, and it's coming off for the cameras. So I feel like Paige is actually being so real, so authentic, and really sticking to her gut. And that is actually refreshing to see on my screen. So thinking Paige is going to have a good season. And so who else do we have on Summer House? We talked about a little bit about Gabby. Okay, we have the two new guys. We have West Wilson and we have Jesse Solomon. So I'm excited for Jesse to come in. He's a boy from Chicago. And, you know, I love my Chicago people. Shout out 312. And I'm happy to see a little bit of a different vibe come in to the city for the weekend. So we've got the tall guy coming in. Now, I like that I'm not one of these girls. So I, again, personally, have never been somebody who's just been in really to anybody just for their looks, but also for their tallness. I've dated, you know, men of all different heights and sizes and shapes and colors. So I'm not somebody who's like, oh my God, 6 foot or above. Like, I don't like girls like that. Like, if you're listening, you are one of those girls, like, drop it, drop the act. You're not perfect. You're not some perfect height. You're not some perfect body. How would you like if somebody came up to you and was like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't like girls that look like you or whatever. It's like, come on. Like, I just feel like, again, you have to put out what you want back. And that's like the golden rule. So if you're not able to at least get the one golden rule of life down, I feel like you're helpless. And I don't really like people that operate in that plane of thinking of like, there's no gray area. It's this or that. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. And I don't like people that expect something from others that they don't give themselves. That's just called hypocrisy, I think. And I just don't think anybody would appreciate anybody else judging somebody on their looks. So you can't help how tall you are. And I feel like everybody's supposed to be given a fair chance in life. I'm so over this like tall guy narrative. Ugh. It's like, move on. We need a new shtick, ladies. Something new. Love a short king. So let's go over to West then. So West comes in. He actually has a personality. He has a pulse. This is great. We're already on the up for some new men in the house. They seem like they have things to do. Like Sierra said, he's very inquisitive. He's taking an interest in the women and getting to know everybody. Already, he's off to a better start than the last 5 men who've tried out to be on this show. So we love West. But again, I have to say, like, I'm just unsure why Sierra is there. Like, do you think producers, I would like to think that producers sat her down. In my little Delulu world, producers sat her down and were like, Sierra, if you don't find something to give, something's got to give here. I know we got Karma Brown last year, which, again, that almost like irked me more. Like, that still wasn't Sierra. Like, everyone's like, oh yeah, we finally got to see Sierra. Like, no, that was Sierra probably on drugs at a party, allegedly, sorry, dressed up as Karma Brown and partying. Like, that's not Sierra. We don't know anything about Sierra. We know that she's from Atlanta. She used to be a nurse and now she's a model. Like, that's not, after 8 seasons, well, she hasn't been on every season, but like, come on. I need more from her. I don't get it. I don't get the Sierra hype. I don't understand what she talks about. I don't understand what's going on here. And I'm praying that producers came to her and were like, girl, you're either going to come in and you're going to hook up with somebody, you're going to get into a fight with somebody, or you're out. So the pressure hopefully has been applied. And maybe we'll get to see her. Maybe I'll be here at the season finale being like, whoa, I'm totally a Sierra stan now. Like, love her, but she's like watching paint dry. So I don't know why she's there. And I guess they saved the best for last. Let's talk a little bit about Danielle. Danielle's the most polarizing character, I think, on Summer House. So I love her one minute, I hate her the next. I one minute think that she's hilarious and fun and I really want to party with her in real life. And then the next minute I'm like, wait, I don't think I would like this girl. She's Delulu. So maybe that's truly why she is a great cast member for this show. And I think I also like the fact that she has really, again, like kind of came into her own. She kind of was a background character, a friend of for a long time. And then she really found her way to kind of break into this like main character energy. Now, again, I'm not sure if she's really quite grasping how she comes off to people. It doesn't seem like she's coming into this season like with any better understanding of like, hey, maybe I should kind of like reel it in and be a little bit more, I don't want to say like likable, but just digestible. And she just seems like she's also going to be like totally nuts this season is what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I'm a little bit sad that she already has, I think she took Lindsay back a little bit too easy. I would have liked to actually see that kind of get extended into this season a little bit more of their drama. Not necessarily as bad as it was last season, but I would have liked to see her pushing back a little bit more and then also like celebrating them, maybe breaking up a little bit more. But I guess if they're friends now, she wouldn't really be happy. I don't know. It's a weird situation, but I guess I just want to see how this all plays out with her. I just think that this whole situation where she was dating Joe Bradley like really threw me for a loop. That was such a weird couple, and I'm just unreally sure what Danielle is all about still too. Like, again, we've gotten to know her, but I don't know. I have just questions. I have some missing blanks to fill in about Danielle this season. So I'm hoping that these people really bring it. I need a good season out of them. I'm afraid for the future of them if they don't start to really, especially with the possible downfall of Amanda and Kyle. I mean, would I not love to see a Kyle single season again? I wonder what kind of girl he would be. I don't know. That's so mean to even speculate and say. Like I said, I really actually like Amanda. I just am confused about the future of their relationship. So we have a lot to see play out on this season. That was my number 2 most talked about moment. And we've already made it to my number 1. Now, when I say already, we're about an hour in, this is one of my longer episodes. Apparently I had a lot to catch up with you guys on, but let's get right into my number 1 most talked about moment of the week, which is Kyle Richards just blowing up the internet. Basically since, what did they say, last July, I think this stuff started to break about Morgan. So let's get into everybody talking about Kyle, Mauricio, and Morgan, because this little love triangle has been juicy. And I think we're about to start to get some real answers about what's been going on. So I'm curious to see, what everybody really thinks is, if they agree with me, if they think that my perspective of what's been going on is what they think too. I was actually listening to a different podcast earlier. She's speaking with Emily Hanks. And I have the total opposite opinions as her. It's really funny. I even have friends too reach out to me on Instagram sometimes and be like, oh my God, girl, like I love you, but I do not agree with you. And I'm like, that's what makes the world go round. That's okay. And it's about respectfully telling people like, I disagree and I still want to be your friend. So I disagree with some things, but I still want to be everybody's friend. I'm not out here to make enemies. I'm just here to, give my opinions and also be cool, not all uncool. So my personal opinion with what's going on with Kyle and Mauricio, there's a lot of stuff out in the zeitgeist. So I believe Kyle and Mauricio probably decided to separate over some other reasons a while ago. Like, I would have to go back and watch season 12 of Beverly Hills, but I think that they've been having problems for a while. And we all know that Mauricio has been in the tabloids for years, with cheating speculations. So I actually do believe Kyle has been cheated on at some point. I think Mo probably a DM, a flirty touch, a late night at the office, a work travel trip, something along the lines over 27 years crossed the line. I do think at some point the trust was broken. Now, as we all know in relationships, like once the trust has been broken once, like it's never fully back. So I think whenever this happened, whether it was 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whenever the initial crack in the relationship started, there was always in the back of Kyle's head, like, okay, this person is not the perfect man that I thought I was marrying. He's not the perfect husband, the perfect father, all of these things. But she's from Beverly Hills, which we all know is, kind of like the fakest place in the land. So she's not going to just come out and be like, okay, I got cheated on, but I'm staying with my man. So she's had to basically put on a happy face and cover up and protect her family. And, she's got Portia's only 15. So the girls were young for a while, all this stuff. I do think that something happened at some point. She's been covering up for the family, protecting the family this whole time, and been building resentment over years. Something happened. Kyle's been building it up, and then eventually I think another thing happened. Now, I don't, again, think it was necessarily cheating. I think that this is all alleged, but there's a lawsuit that's been floating out there with Mauricio about the sale of a home that he fraudulently did. Now, we saw Kyle in this season say on that Sprinter bus when they were in Barcelona, I just sign things, I never read, I just trust my husband. Now, I think that the producers put that in there on purpose because I think that they were alluding to that, something happened. I think they knew that this lawsuit was out there and maybe they were giving us like a tiny little Easter egg. So again, I could be crazy, but I think that there's something that happened between Kyle and Mauricio unrelated to him cheating that has now compromised their marital agreement, whether or not that's a prenup, whether or not that's Kyle having access to something if they get divorced. Like, I'm not sure. I'm just speculating. So I just feel like something happened around this lawsuit because around the time of the lawsuit and the sale of the house is kind of around the same time that these problems started happening, these rumors started happening, and Morgan started popping up. This was all simultaneous. So, of course, the lawsuit's not as big of news because we don't talk about that stuff quite as much. I mean, Erica, what happened with Erica and what happened with Jen Shaw, like those were huge, lightning in a bottle moments. But these tiny little lawsuits, like housewives sue and get sued all the time. So it's not like, Mauricio being in some kind of a lawsuit is going to like make it onto the show or whatever, especially when it is a lawsuit, you can't usually talk about these things. So it was just kind of a weird situation, I'm sure. But to me, it seems like maybe something happened with this lawsuit. And I think in this confessional that Kyle just had in the season finale, where she says like something happened where the trust was just broken that I could never get back. Everybody's like, oh yeah, Mo cheated. And that was just like the final nail in the coffin. But unfortunately, I don't think that he did. I actually think that they maybe have had even like an agreement the entire time. And maybe their relationship has been, I don't want to say open, but there's been something. I have only been, I can only speak for myself again in this in this world, in my perspectives of how the world works. But I just think like 27 years is a long time. It's almost impossible to find a man out there who hasn't like done something. So again, I don't want to say that like real relationships don't exist and that like men can't be faithful, but it's just, that's hard, especially in a place like Beverly Hills. Fame, money, international success. Like the fact that this man only has eyes for Kyle is almost like, okay, so we have already basically confirmed. We know Mauricio cheated at some point of their relationship sometime. Could have been a long time ago, could have been recent. Then this lawsuit comes in, and I think, okay, if Kyle's not going to leave over being cheated in the past, like why would she leave now over being cheated? Like what's different? Was it wisdom? Is it saying like, okay, I don't care. Like if we've been together for this long, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore and I need to get out. Now I would actually believe that if Morgan didn't exist. Morgan is a very, very important part of this whole situation. If Kyle was divorcing Maurice, separating from him, leaving him, and going out because he cheated and she was being like, even she doesn't even have to say he cheated. She could have done this whole season the way she did it without Morgan even being a part of it. Put this narrative out there that something happened where the trust was broken and that's why they're stuck. We all would have been totally rallying Kyle, totally believing her. Fuck Mo, like, you know how we are, grabbing our pitchforks, like the man would have never seen the light of day. Like, we would have buried him. So the fact that she's playing it so coy, now Kyle's like, something happened. Oh, but none of us did anything wrong. Now remember, she specifically said, neither one of us did something. Now, when she said neither one of us, that was very interesting to me. She's including herself in that. So she's not only saying, oh, no, we're not breaking up because Mo cheated. She's also being very clear to tell everybody we're not breaking up because I cheated. That sucks. That's almost like a Freudian slip to me. Like, why are you even bringing, like, no one thought you were cheating, Kyle. So why did you bring that up? I believe that the trust was already broken. They may have already had an agreement of, you do your thing, I do mine. We never publicly tell anybody. We're never seen with anybody. We never officially said we're just going to kind of like don't ask, don't tell. Now, again, she said in her thing, like, do I seem like the type of girl who would be okay with don't ask, don't tell? I can personally tell you that I know a lot of women who say that they would never tolerate that, and they do. So it's okay. There's no shame there. It's just false to say that you would never like participate in something like that, because it's almost like never say never. I just don't think that after that long of being married and stuff, like, that you just really believe. I don't know. I just don't believe it. I just smell bullshit. So I believe there was already, the foundation was cracked. Then this lawsuit comes in. Now, I'm not allegedly by Bravo. I'm not, so there's so many good other influencers and podcasts and creators out there who actually really do know the legal terms and what's going on with these lawsuits. I didn't even like read to know. All I know is it had something to do with the sale of the house. And I believe that there is a rumor out there, allegedly, that the fraudulent sale of this house that Mauricio is being sold over had a forged Kyle's signature. So when Kyle's saying that the trust wasn't broken, I think that Mauricio did a shady business deal, included Kyle. And when Kyle realized that she can't trust him like that and that he's constantly out doing deals and things, I think that was when she realized, like, I need to basically like protect myself and my family and start drumming up a divorce, a la Erica Jane. When Erica and Tom started going through all of this stuff, kind of like one of the first things that she did was almost be like, I don't know this man. I've never signed anything. I don't know what's going on. So it's so quick. But if you remember, her and Tom were like perfect before that. They never had a problem in their marriage. So kind of like Kyle and Mauricio, everything was perfect. Everything's perfect. We're like the ideal couple. How so quickly? I think that it's a concrete thing that we will never know and probably never find the truth to. But I think that it has something to do with not cheating, basically is what I'm saying. I think something happened with Kyle and Mauricio that was not him cheating, that did break their trust, that did realize that Kyle's entire life basically could be over. She could lose everything just like Erica. She's seeing Erica. She's going, oh, hell no. I am not living in a casita in a pool house somewhere. Like, I need to basically like start building my case now against Mo. Now, again, we have a whole other layer of this, which is Morgan. Enter Morgan Wade. So while this is all going on, I think it probably did start to make Kyle spiral. Okay, now she's seen the dissolution of this 27-year marriage that everybody thought was perfect. And, midlife crisis or not, it is natural for you to kind of start questioning everything and start looking for companionship, start looking for support in different places. And again, we have to talk about how she lost her best friend, Lorraine. Now, one of the last things that Lorraine said to Kyle before taking her life was to honor her marriage and to never, fault on that. Now, I'm unsure again. Like, I'm not really like a sleuth. Like, I don't dig up stuff on people. So I never looked into Lorene. I don't even know if she was married. If anything happened in her marriage that maybe would have caused her to take her life. Like, I'm not sure if those things were related, but it's clear that something happened, within Lorene's world. And the fact that Mo didn't go to Lorene's event, her celebration of life event, but it just seems like there's like a lot going on in Kyle's life and all these little like interpersonal relationships, and everything going on at once could cause you to make some serious life changes. So I'm really unsure how she was going to start to deal with this. Now, where she met Morgan, apparently she met Morgan online and stalked her, came to one of her shows, because she was famous, was able to get backstage and meet her, and they had instant chemistry. Now, I do believe, I can tell just by looking at them, they're doing it. Everyone saw the hip rub on Watch What Happens Live. Like, that you don't touch and rub somebody's ass like that unless you are intimate with them. So to me, it's not a question of whether or not Morgan and Kyle are dating. They are together. They've been together for a while. And I think that this has been a long lead up, a long tease, and almost buying time for Kyle before, they totally go and just blow up everything. Because I think, you can't really put the pieces back together. Like, once the glass is broken, you can glue it back together, but like, it's always going to have the cracks. So I'm curious to see really how all this is going to end. Now, we know in the Beverly Hills reunion that Kathy comes. Now, I do believe that Morgan's also going to make an appearance. I think we've seen, because we are just these insane Bravo people that we just know everything that's going on, that it looks like Morgan is going to show up at the reunion. And I'm not sure if you guys saw the blind item that came out from Dumois saying that there's going to soon be a release from People with the exclusive, basically that Kyle and Morgan are together. So I think all of these little things are adding up, right? In the season finale, when they pick up cameras because the People magazine article was dropped that Kyle and Mauricio had separated, and then Kyle later denied it and said that they weren't, and no one knows who leaked this. Like, we all know that People is the #1 most reputable celebrity news magazine. They do not post anything that has not been verified. I believe that this was verified. I believe that Kyle put the story out there. I believe that she did it on purpose. And I also believe that it was in cahoots with Bravo for ratings. I think that they saw Sandoval. We were only 3 months out from Sandoval. Remember when this happened? And I think that they saw an opportunity here. We know that Dave Quinn is the official Housewives correspondent for People. And it just seems like, allegedly, they purposely leaked the story. And then any other time, any other news outlet, if you are going to basically say like, oh, this isn't true, this whole story is fake that they published, they would rebuttal and basically be like, no, these are the sources that we use. We are a reputable news source. You aren't going to come for us. Like, they would usually fight back. Because there was no pushback from People, there was no release, there was no re-edit, there was nothing. You can still look up the article today. It's still active. I think that there were some cahoots here. I think that everybody was working together for the ratings, the story. It probably was good for People. It probably was good for Bravo. We know it was good for Kyle. Got her narrative out there. And just seems like there's like a lot of fishy stuff going on there. I don't really like, it's almost like fake news. It's almost like when you are watching the news and you know that they're only giving you stories that are in their agenda. Like, I don't like that. So I don't really like how close People has gotten to Bravo. Like, stay separate. We need real facts coming out in our People magazine, please. So yeah, that's my whole theory. I think we all are good, and I just have to wait and see what happened. A lot of people are saying that Dorit is the reason. I think Dorit had absolutely nothing to do with this. Again, I would love to be wrong. Show me that I'm wrong. I don't see, there's no proof online. Everyone's like, oh, it's Dorit. Dorit had a big hand in this. Like, there's no proof. So until there's any type of proof, receipts, screenshots, timeline, whatever about Dorit being involved, I refuse to incriminate my Dorit. And I basically think that was it. So I know I had a lot to talk about this episode. I really rambled on and just gave a lot of opinions. This is why I'm glad I kind of skipped my OMG and my LOL. And we just really talked about all of the drama going on this week. And I just appreciate you. If you're still here an hour and 15 minutes into this episode, you're a real one. And I appreciate your support so much. This podcast is going to be ramping up. Like, even though it's funny, I actually looked to see when I started my Instagram account, and it was, I think June 2010. We're coming up on like 4 years. I've barely done any work on it. I've barely even tried to get myself out there. I really just use it as an outlet for myself, and I don't think too much about other people getting entertainment from it. But I'm starting to shift my perspective, and I'm going to be doing so much more with this podcast, with my Instagram, and with creating content. So just please stay tuned, stick with me. As soon as my wedding is over, we're getting closer every single day. I think, let me say, we are down to 40 days. So in 40 days, this nightmare will be over. I'll be married, and I'll be able to give all of my Bellas 100% attention. So thank you again for joining me. Thank you for being here. I love you all. Please go follow me on social media. Please leave me a review. Oh my gosh, I'm dying for reviews and ratings. That is the number one way that Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everybody will make you more visible. The more, just like with everything else, you got to have followers, you got to have subscribers, you got to have downloaders, you got to have the clout. So please share this with a friend. Share, come online. Follow me on social media. I'm active, very active on there, giving my opinions all day long. You think this was long? Ugh. Come find me on my stories. And just thank you for being here. Thank you for all of the love and the support. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Ciao, Bellas.